Okay. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the 40 Rules of Love, where we actually have a panel discussing a couple of the rules of love from the book, um, 40 Rules of Love, set many many generations ago. And the purpose of our discussions around these rules is basically, what do we think about them in today's world? Do they still have validity? So today I am joined by the panel of Jeanette Kishori McKenzie and Christine Miller and Emily Love. So, before we actually get into the rules that we're talking about today, which are rules 7 and 8, and I'll pop them on the screen later, I'd just like to go around the room and ask you to briefly introduce yourselves to the people that may be watching this. So, first, can I start with you, Emily?
Hello, I'm Emily. I This is my favorite book ever written. I create beautiful events which connect people and generate love.
Awesome. Well, with a name like Love, any book about love should be right up there. Okay, and now Christine, please.
Hello, I'm Christine Miller, and I describe myself as an advocate for love. I've been researching and working with love in organizations for quite a few years now. And it's fascinating what the repercussions have been in my own life of learning to live with greater love and to actually be in the world as love. And so obviously this book and this discussion are absolutely right up my street. And I'm just so pleased to be here. And thank you.
Thank you. We are delighted to have you here too. And joining us for the first time, Kishori. And please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm Jeanette Kishori McKenzie, and I am an adventurer in consciousness. And as all consciousness is love, whatever it looks like, or seems to be, or experienced, I'm a player at the game of love, and do all sorts of events and Zooms and chats and one-on-ones and with anyone that's interested in hearing what I have to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know you have some wonderful insights that we will hear shortly in relation to the rules that we're going to look at today. And I am Elizabeth Carney, your host, and I'm a coach, a master coach, and holistic healer, and I focus on helping people get back to love, really, and starting from the point of loving themselves first, because that's where it all begins. And if you can't live in love of yourself, then it's very difficult to embody that whole love element in relation to anybody else and what we want out of life. And many people are stuck in that whole process of basically living life for other people and not for themselves. So that's where I come in. And this book, when I first read the book, it was one of the best books I've read in many years. It really had a profound impact on me. And the history, for those of you who are watching for the first time, the history of this is I basically said at a Silver Tent book club meeting where we were discussing the book, 40 Rules of Love, perhaps we should actually have a Silver Tent TV program and discuss these individually. So here we are, episode 4. And without further ado, I am going to share what we're going to talk about today. Hopefully you can see the screen now. And this is the first one. Rule number 7. Whatever happens in your life, no matter how troubling things might seem, do not enter the neighborhood of despair. Even when all doors remain closed, God will open up a new path only for you. Be thankful. It's easy to be thankful when all is well. And a Sufi is thankful not only for what he's been given, but also all that he has been denied. Interesting concepts in there. And as always, plenty to unpick. So, Emily, can we start with you today?
Okay. Yes, starting with me. Right. What do I want to say about this? It's all very well. This rule, as it were, number 7, to me, is about us as human beings here on this earth now, having this notion that we need to be different from how we are, or we want to be like that, or the grass is always greener. And so I think when it talks about the nature of despair, yes, while despair is a very human emotion, if you go down the road of saying, I wish I wasn't in such despair, then all that happens is that you make yourself feel even worse. So for me, this is talking about, as you begin to really just go, okay, I will accept who I am, what I'm doing, without trying all the time to make myself be better, then it kind of will unfold in its own way. So that's all very esoteric in my mind, but I give you a real life description of something that happened to me along these lines. So, for example, when I was I was at 40. I'll just do the details. Okay, I was 40. I was bankrupt, and I was living at my parents' house. And I did not want to be. And every day I would just be like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And then my mind would go into this spiral of something wrong with me. Why has this happened? Why can't I be like that? Why did this? Da, 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 da. And it was almost like when I used to smoke, I stopped smoking when I was 26. I just smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke until I was absolutely disgusted with the smoking. And so one day I just stopped smoking, just like that. And it was the same with this. One day I just went, I do want this. I do want to be here. This is what I want. And it is true, I had asked for some peace. I had asked to live in the hut at the bottom of my parents' garden. And people had even made me pots and things for it. But so I had asked for that. I had wanted a break. So as soon as I started to say, this is what I want. And in relation, oh, you've moved the quote. Can you put it back to the 7?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, because my yeah. So in relation to, yes. It's a little bit annoying sometimes when people say things like, you know, do gratitudes, be thankful. And if you're feeling like, but I haven't got what I want, or I'm not living the life I dreamed. For me, what was going on there is as soon as I accepted, so there's the magic word for me, acceptance of who you are, what you are, it all completely shifted quite quickly. Because whatever, oh, I wonder whether Jeanette will say something about this, but whatever is going on about why we came here, whatever you believe about why your soul chose to be here at this moment in time, all of the things that are going on are part of the process, almost like I asked for that. I wanted this experience. As soon as I acknowledged I wanted it, everything changed so fast, I can't tell you. So to me, rule number 7 is, yeah, okay, if you feel despair, but don't let it stop you from who you are. That's just part of the process. I don't know what the other side of despair would be. Absolute hope. So you always got to think of in life, we're in this dual experience. what's the other side? Not saying it's not, yeah, and I'm saying it's worth feeling the despair. Anyway, don't know. There we go. I shouldn't end with don't know, because I think what I said is quite good and relevant on the video. But yeah, that's enough. Someone else will pick it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, that's great to get us started on your thoughts create your reality, how you're going to deal with them. I think, it's fascinating. So before I come to you, Jeanette, Christine, I know that you are still struggling with your voice, but I'd love to hear your comments on this one.
Yes, thank you. Well, with regard to this rule, number 7, whatever happens in your life, no matter how troubling things might seem, do not enter the neighborhood of despair. Even when all doors remain closed, God will open up a new path only for you. Be thankful. It is easy to be thankful when all is well. A Sufi is thankful not only for what he has been given, but also for all that he has been denied. What immediately springs to mind for me is something that my mother used to say, which was count your blessings. And at one time, a few years ago, I was working with a friend and colleague who was going through an extraordinarily difficult time of loss in many ways, on many levels. And this is someone who was used to being extremely successful, had worldwide fame and acclaim for the work that they were doing. And I was prompted to write a poem which was actually called Blessings. And what I feel to a certain extent is being expressed here is to have that ability to look at oneself and see how we are what is happening. We are what is happening to us. And to have the ability to count whatever is happening to us as a blessing, which may at some stage become clear to us why this is happening, how we're creating it, as Emily was talking about, what is it that we really want to have happen, and how is it manifesting in our world. And in the end, often we can gain that inner peace and insight into the fact that although it may seem dire and it may seem worthy of despair, there is something in there to guide us to the future, to let us see how we can live more fully, be more open-hearted, and how we can receive through a new path what it is that is our heart's desire, what our heart really, really wants. And so to be thankful for all experiences, because they make us more open, they expand us, they give her a much greater understanding of how the world works and how we are our own world, and how within that world we work, and how we can become a better and a bigger player, a better and a bigger participant, and to give more of ourselves, so that what we bring into our lives, what we allow into our lives, is increasing success, even though it might be going very much along the wiggly line that it seems like sometimes like one step forward, 2 steps back, that ultimately it's all steps towards a greater being of ourselves and a greater universal kind of love that embraces ourselves and the universe which we are in and which we are constantly creating. So that is how Rule 7 speaks to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. that makes so much sense. So, what's your take on it, Jeanette?
Okay, it's beautiful. It's all, whatever everybody has said is also beautiful. However, whatever happens, I start off by going through a bit at a time. Nothing just happens. So the word happens, whatever we experience, I am the cause, whatever I experience. So although it might not seem like that to my little human personality at times, I know it 1,000,000%, if you like, to be the truth. I'm like my scriptwriter, my movie producer, or my director, and so if I'm not happy, then it's obviously not true, and I have to find the way of bringing it into alignment, the experience. And of course, the quick way is love your whole story. That's what I would say to anybody. Find the way to see how that mosquito that's stinging me at the moment. I mean, everybody's got little bits and pieces, whether it's a broken fingernail or or the state of the world. It doesn't matter. It can be a mosquito, or it could be a we can go into what is said here, the neighborhood of despair. But yes, if you do by chance step into the neighborhood of despair, as already been said, feel it. Feel it first, but don't stay there. It's like the story of C.S. Lewis. Oh, never mind, I won't go down there because that's another whole story. But don't stay on the fixed land. We're always surfing. It's never fixed unless you choose to stay there, because the neighborhood of despair really it sucks you down, and it's really stuck in a pit of but actually when you take it to your heart, do you love it? No, it's not real. It's part of the movie that you're making, that you might want to, you might decide, okay, I'm going to prune this, but the only way is to look and see yourself, as we've already said, and that the whole world, without exception, every tiny little thing is a mirror of what you are transmitting, what you are radiating, like your TV channel you're radiating. So you have to go back to yourself and see what it is that you can bring into alignment. Then, when all doors remain closed, well, if you look at Alice in Wonderland, for example, all doors are made, closed doors are made to be open. If you've got a closed door, and we stay curious, we want to know, well, why does it seem to? Because it's an experience, it's not a reality. There are no closed doors fixed forever, because it's always, we're surfing. And God will open a new path only for you. Well, my path is always my path, only my path. And if I accept that I am source, I am godness, not I am God, but but I am source. It's all what I have consciously or unconsciously chosen. So, the rishis or the yogis used to go and sit in a cave in the Himalaya, was sorting it all by just sitting there. But we're not doing that these days. The new human is one that engages with all the chaos of the world, and we look at what's going on and we can say, oh my God, why is this? And if you ask the question, why is this happening to me? It's because I choose to be part of what is happening, of the chaos, because that is the way, only way that I, in this body, in this particular individual, can affect what is apparently happening. It's not happening, it's willed from somewhere. So I accept it or embrace it. And it's a bit like I've been speaking about recently quite a bit, beauty embracing the beast. You embrace it, but you don't intend to keep it. I mean, she doesn't kiss the beast to keep it like that. She just follows the impulse of her heart. And that's what we all do. Mm-hmm. We all do that. In the end, when we've begun this path, the people on on this panel are obviously embracing, that of reflecting on identity. Who am I? What am I? What am I playing here? What game am I playing? And taking that step back to look at the bigger picture, then yeah, there's nothing to do except be thankful that we've been invited to play. We're not sitting up in the absolute formless awareness. We've been invited to dance, to play. And every little pinprick or mosquito bite makes us more conscious, as all has already been said. And we have to be thankful, or at least thankful for not what I have temporarily denied myself, but also for what I have not yet experienced, for what I've not even thought of, that I have not seen nor heard, nor hath it entered into the heart of man, those things. And it's universe or life or me, I'm on my side. And everything is on my side. So if I'm not experiencing that, that's up to me to sort. But I love reading it, and thank you so much for asking me, because it's really touched me personally. And that just a little thing I was thinking about before I came on the panel, and it helped me just, well, of course I want that mosquito bite.
Yeah, that's a lovely way to think about mosquito bites. I'm, still surrounded by the ones that are not giving up at the end of summer, and they come and give me a little nudge. But hey, flip that. The mosquito bites me. At least I know I'm still alive, if nothing else, because it's having some kind of impact on me, and it reminds me that here I am in Italy, and this is where I chose to be. And yeah, and not entering and staying in the neighborhood of despair. I think, we need to feel it to know what is on the other side, what is better, and things like that. I mean, I at the beginning of this year I set some goals, and one of those goals was I want in the future, because I have a goal setting thing, and one of the things is about experiences, and then you get into what you need to do to have those experiences. And I didn't fully have a hand in this, but it's manifested because I set a goal that I want to take my grandchildren to Lapland to see Father Christmas. And of course there's no sign of any grandchildren, not even a whisper of it. And then literally a few weeks, 2, 3 weeks after I set that goal, I discover that my son and his girlfriend are having a baby, and that baby arrived last Sunday. And so the goal is on its way, and the baby's here, and that I shall take that child to Lapland to see Father Christmas is well, 9 months, 10 months, it's much further on that route. So, and I can't actually take responsibility for creating that, or can I? I actually wished it, and it's now in my life. And the kind of, oh, am I ever going to be a granny? Am I ever, I have had such an intense outpouring of emotion that really has hit me how powerful it was. I mean, yesterday I couldn't stop crying all day with absolute joy, not despair. But that love is just, well, I know other people who've become grandparents for the first time say there's nothing like it. I haven't even met the little child yet. And I have got all of this just beaming out of me. It's phenomenal. Um, so, the fact that, maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe they weren't ready for it up until now. And now, we can be thankful that he's here and he's absolutely beautiful and perfect. So, yeah. Does anybody have anything more to say about rule number 7, or shall we move to
He got a name, to interrupt you.
Oh, he has got a name, yeah. Believe it or not, my son's surname is Kelly, and the baby is called Jesse James. Jesse, Jesse.
Oh
So
my!
it's a boy, Jesse James Kelly. So he's an outlaw.
Wow. Oh,
He's
welcome, little Jessie. Yes. Sorry, I interrupted you. I wanted to feel him.
He's I think going to be known as JJ, which he's already puts him in the zone of, rock stars. Everybody gets known by their initials. So JJ Kelly has
Yeah.
quite a nice ring to it.
Yeah. Oh.
So
I have
okay.
to say I'm very grateful personally, and I can feel that spreading in my body. Just think, wow, it's just as if I just wanted to hear that again, and I know it, but it's right up in my face there on the screen, and I went, oh wow, and I flipped something inside me just because of that. So I'm feeling gratitude that that has been placed in front of my eyes this morning. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Emily or Christine, do you have anything more to say about number 7? No, we move on to number 8 then. So, rule number 8. Patience does not mean to passively endure. It means to look at the end of a process.
Wow.
What does patience mean? It means to look at the thorn and see the rose, to look at the night and see the dawn. Impatience means to be short sighted, as to not be able to see the outcome. The lovers of God never run out of patience, for they know that time is needed for the crescent moon to become full. Wow. Wow. I've read this before, but suddenly it's just spoken to me completely differently. Let me start with Christine this time. How does this sit with you? What relevance does it have, like, to you, to the world, to now?
Well, first of all, as you were reading that rule, I very much connected with what you've just told us about your grandson, as that you had set the goal at the beginning of this year, and yes, there was an outcome, and you were holding potential. You were holding the potential, and that potential has been fulfilled. One of your goals, one of your dreams has or is in the process of coming true. So that question of patience, for me, it really relates very strongly to being able to hold the vision of the potential in everything, in all of us, in our world, and the example of waiting and knowing the process of the moon going from the crescent moon to the full moon, that is the potential in that thin sliver, or even in the darkness of an absolute new moon, the potential of the full moon is there. And it's something that goes right through time, right through the entirety of our world, our personal worlds, and our universe. And I suppose as women, sometimes we're held to be, very, very much connected to the phases of the moon for physical, emotional, hormonal, all kinds of reasons. And so for me, this idea of being patient and maintaining the ability to see the outcome and to hold the full potential, and to also hold the mystery of the potential for, there are some things that happen in the ways that they happen, they unfold in the ways that they happen. But we can take that patience and potential into our hearts and into our dreams, and we can expand. So, relating back to Rule 7, not going into the neighborhood of despair, by holding the ability to envision, to have the ideas, and to be able to as we're all creating everything ourselves all the time anyway for ourselves, to be able to take potential and expand it into what it is that we really, really want to embrace, what's in our heart, what the heart desires. And in the converse, impatience. I suppose we have a tendency to want things to happen quickly according to our own timetable, and to have a sometimes perhaps selfish desire for that we should have what we want right now or very quickly, and not allowing for that incubation process. The fact that time is somehow immaterial, that certain things, yes, they unfold according to time, the seasons, the phases of the moon. But our biggest dreams, our biggest expansions of our self and our heart can take as long as they take. And we can be aware of the fact that the more energy we give to that love and that creation, probably the quicker they will happen, but that some things, they take the time that they take, and that we have to be patient and check ourselves that we are truly concentrating and not allowing ourselves into the neighborhood of despair, but that we're concentrating on the fulfillment of those aims, those goals, those dreams, those much bigger picture potentials that we all hold in our life, and that we can hold for our world as an entirety as we're creating it all the time. So that's how Rule 8 sits for me at the moment. And I love the fact that 8 on its side, of course, is the infinity symbol.
Yeah.
So we can hold potential into its infinite fulfillment.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. As you were speaking, I was thinking it has such a relevance to today's instant gratification culture that, some patients, could be very useful um, for many, because, it does not have to be right now, whatever we want. A vision takes time to create, even though we create it ourselves. There is this whole instant manifestation and all the rest of it, and everything's got a little bit jumbled up. And there are an awful lot of people out there that think that everything happens instantly, and I think that sometimes you know um, it takes a little longer, but it doesn't mean that. And also there's this thing. One of the things I teach people during some of my work, some of my programs, is about vision boards. Everybody thinks that vision boards are amazing, and you cut out lots of pretty pictures and you stick them on a big piece of card and you put them on the wall and you look at it and you think, all right, this is going to happen. I first learned about vision boards 35, 37 years ago. And then we called them prosperity maps, which was awesome. But there was a huge process associated with this and putting ourselves in the vision. And I find that an awful lot of people miss out so much, which is why just staring at the pictures often does nothing. There is an active part that people need to, if you want to do something, then there are things you need to do. There are steps also to take you there, whether those are active or less active steps. There's always something you can be doing, whether that's in the mind or on the practical sense. That's what came to me when you were speaking, Christine. So, Emily,
Yes.
what's? Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something else, Christine?
I was just going to sort of drop in a metaphor about the process of cooking, baking a cake, or we all know the consequences of opening the oven doors too soon, and we can cut short the rise to potential by by not taking the time necessary for things to reach fruition. that was all I was going to come in with.
Awesome. And also having all the right ingredients. My mom used to cook things, and if she didn't have all the ingredients, she'd substitute or put something else in. And then we suffered some disastrous things. But most of the time she was okay. But if you want the recipe to come out right, you do need the right ingredients. Substitutes don't always work. Anyway, Emily, moving on to you, because I can see you're dying to speak there.
I'm just really I'm really engaged with what you're saying. I really like the cake analogy, and just because I will always substitute ingredients for specifically sugar, wheat, gluten-free, dairy-free food, making it delicious. And you can, you can, but yeah. Okay, that's another subject, and perhaps
No,
another
you can. You can. Yeah, you can substitute, but you have to substitute in the right way.
You have to, and it takes time, doesn't it? And experimentation. And my children would always be outraged that I don't follow recipes and I try and make it as I go along. They think they are outraged by that. I am so engaged in this process of going through these rules because it's such beautiful language, isn't it? We spoke last time about the sort of how the poetry of these so-called rules is so moving and touching, and that when you read it aloud, we all feel it in our bodies so much, don't we? It's almost like, there's a sigh of deep recognition in our being. And sometimes I feel like, oh, well, there's no need to say anything else because we all just felt it and we could all just sit here in silence. And I think I'm repeating what I was saying last time, but this is so beautiful, this notion of patience. And it reminds me, there's I think it's Victor Hugo quote that says, forgiveness is the scent that flowers make when you crush them. Do you know that quote?
Oh, exactly. No, that is just really
exactly.
I feel that one. Yeah.
That's how you felt it, and that's how I felt when you read this, when I read this. And what you've both said about this super fast world we find ourselves in, where everything is supposed to happen tomorrow or in 3 days, or 78 ways to market your tarot card business. It's all super fast, and yet a lifetime is actually, in the grand scheme of things, super minuscule. And we think, our life, it might take a lifetime. That might be the road we're on, if you go back to the other rule 7. So lots of things I wanted to say, but the one thing that I feel is really important about this rule 8, about the tides, the phases of the moon, because a lot of time, like every single night, we go to bed and we wake up in the morning, and in the night it's dark, in the morning it's light, and there's no, that's just the way it is. And it has been like that for 1 billion years, and it will be like that for 1 billion years more. And that is the very essence of our nature, light and day, night and day. And it gets a quote like this allows me to feel deeply connected to the rhythms of my life and life as a whole. So when he's talking about that crescent moon, it feels one of the most important rules to acknowledge that. That's it. I mean, that's our life on Earth, isn't it? okay, I know something. Okay, no, hold on a minute. My brain is going to go, oh, well, it's in Scotland, it doesn't get dark sometimes in summer. But that's my point. That's my point about that. And yeah, it's beautiful.
It is, isn't it? And it's interesting that the first half we're talking about the end of the process, and yet here we are talking about the crescent moon becoming full, and that process doesn't end. It goes. It's a circle. So
It's eternal.
and it's interesting that once again this is rule 8, infinity, because I help people with the process of life. I used to help people with business processes, but both with business or the process of life, you get to the end of sorting out something, fixing something, helping it to be better, and then you start again because there's always something else. A process never ends, which is why, interestingly, I just spotted that. What is the end of the process? Is that the vision? Because we all know what happens when you get achieve one vision, then another one pops up in its place. I'm now curious, though, to see what Jeanette has to say about this particular rule.
Oh, thank you. It's so, again, it strikes me just as I'm reading it and listening to you all speaking about it, how absolutely perfectly it is the moment for me to read that personally, as well as on the bigger picture and discussing it in general. It's like the ocean, the waves. A wave rises, and we know it's going to break. We know that phase of the moon is going to end, and the next one comes. But there's always the ocean never stops. It's the never-ending story. And so, how can a wave that it knows it's going to break? How can we go? No. That's the story of not staying on the fixed land. We're surfing it all the time, and we come into this experience or this frequency of being on Earth, so to speak, so that we can experience time. Without time, it would all be all done. I remember when I first started this phase of playing with consciousness, many years ago, and it was like I said, "What am I doing here?" And it said, "You're bungee jumping into matter." And oh yeah, and it said, "And you are always satisfied." Satis means full, always full, and always going into the emptiness, the new from the nothing. So it's such a beautiful reflection to look at that. It's always already done, always, because a desire is already complete, not in our experience, of course, but a desire when it comes, experienced personally, but it actually is from the global consciousness, from consciousness. And we think it's personal, and we think, it doesn't really matter if I don't get that chocolate ice cream or that that color dress or whatever it might be. And all we have to do, or I have discovered over my years of refusing and resisting, is that all you have to do is go yes, and then get on with going for a walk, washing the dishes, having a cup of tea, whatever it is. Just don't have to do it. So patience means not passively endure. Yeah, don't put up with anything. You don't have to. It's like Christmas is coming and the packet's all wrapped up on top of the wardrobe and you can't reach it and you can't look, but you know it's there. You're going to open it. So that's what I learned about desire, not to ever reach forward for it or anticipate or move towards, but be in that space where the opposites, the ends unite. The opposite is always there. And I love it. The lovers of God never run out of patience, for they know that time is needed. Of course, when we came here, or at least we created this frequency in order to experience the unraveling of time so that we could look at every little angle of it, every little to savor every bite. Love the idea of cooking the cake. Then you have to eat it when it's cooked and taste it, and every little mouthful to be savored. So yeah, maybe we can savor the mosquito. No, not savoring the mosquito bite necessarily. I would prefer not to be bitten, but I know that it drives me back. It pushes my consciousness back from circumstances into where I am the chooser, and it's beautiful. Never passively endure. Don't put up with anything. But you don't have to lie on the floor in the supermarket and kick your heels because you just go, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So relaxing, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. Just accepting the moment, the present, the what is. Just,
Exactly. But not putting up with, knowing you said yes to the real desire to experience the completion, but you wouldn't want, if you didn't experience each little taste of that chocolate ice cream. I mean, it's all spun out. You would just go, gone, finished. So there's no savoring of it all. It's magic.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna just say, let's just have a conversation about anything else that pops to mind about these two rules or what they're connected to or anything. So who wants to add something else? Or have we actually run out of words for right now for today?
Well, these two, I haven't looked at the other ones recently, but these two at least are absolutely on point. They're not just some ancient, beautiful poet, scripture, whatever. They are absolutely on point for now.
They are, and they're right for us. And that is what's so, when you believe in, we are exactly where we are meant to be at any particular moment in time. And right now, here we are, the four of us, discussing this, which is exactly what we're meant to be doing. And
Yeah.
it's, and the kind of infinite nature of that also is quite phenomenal when you
Yes.
think that we probably planned this before we ever landed on this planet.
That
And
we would sit here and discuss the story.
yeah, well,
They,
it's
they, they remind, it's a bit like I'm thinking about the 12 commandments. So at school, I think you might learn them.
Well,
Certainly
12.
yeah, well, at Hebrew school, I think we might have learned them
oh,
then.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
But perhaps instead of the 12 commandments, we could have the 40 rules of love. And then when you go to school, instead of waiting until you get to be over 50 and can join the Silver Tones, and then you get to discuss things like this, actually, well, I always get very impassioned about things like this and just say, actually, wow, yes, this is relevant for everybody. Let's teach it at 5-year-old level and yeah.
Yeah, there's so much truth in that. There's so much that we attempt to shove into these small people, which is probably totally irrelevant. Has anybody actually used algebra? Unless you're a nuclear physicist, does anybody used a slide rule in school or a logarithm table or all those things that people were, trying to force me to understand? And I'm like, when am I ever going to need this? Never, ever have. And yet there are so many more things, that I have learned in the journey since. And most of that came after almost taking a leap out of what's expected and leaping into my own world. So I am not going to do this corporate stuff anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to be me and I'm going to do my thing. And I'm not going to be bound by your rules of I have to get in a car and drive 55 miles to work and sit here for 8 hours and be tortured by people that I didn't actually like, living in a sick building and all, I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm not going to do it anymore. And, that was 12 years ago. And, I have learned so much in those 12 years since I went, no, society. I mean, I'm not totally out of society, obviously, but I'm like, I'm not doing the what's expected anymore. I'm doing me. And it's just been a whole profound experience. But I've had to learn that myself. Nobody teaches you to explore these things.
It's been something I've discussed with various colleagues that I work with about the need for revelations, or the need for love to become a core part of the curriculum in schools. And a number of years ago, I was talking to a woman who was a professor of religious studies and philosophy at Bristol University, and she was working very hard to bring meditation classes into kindergarten and throughout school. And she's written extensively about she talks about love and the zest for life, and she writes extensively about Teilhard de Chardin, who was the one who said that when man rediscovers the power of love, he will have discovered fire for the second time, such as the strength of the kind of love that we speak of here, with it, and that the 40 Rules speaks of. It's not the kind of tabloidized version of love as a four-letter word that gets splashed across the red top newspapers in the UK, or sort of, or gets sort of decried. And as I've been walking around, sitting around, moving around, doing interviews with people, asking them what love means to them, the shock of actually being asked that question is palpable. That no matter how carefully I might have contextualized asking about love and giving, I don't want to obviously preempt by offering a meaning. I like to keep the questions as clean as possible. But when I ask that question, what does love mean to you in your life? There are some people, I might as well have punched them in the gut, really. It was such a shock to them that I could take that word and bring it into the working context, the context of their work. Because they would say, but I only think of love in relation to my wife and my family. I couldn't possibly think about expressing love at work. People get the wrong meaning. I think I may have mentioned this before, but there was one notable politician who was a cabinet secretary at the time, who said, I would never use that word at work, because if I used it in relation to a woman, if I told a woman that I loved her, the meaning would be taken entirely wrongly. And if I used it to a man, it would be taken wrongly, probably in an even more challenging and distressing way. So no, I would never use that. And he said, but I know what it means to have good relationships, and good, lasting relationships based on true friendship and trust and caring. So what we've often found is that love's a scary word, but if we modify it to trust and caring, and in looking at these rules, patience, and also trust and loyalty, then to me, love is like it's a bit like a prism or a spectrum, that you can put all these qualities that improve our lives, that are part of our values, and you can shine a light. And love is the fabulous crystal that contains all these qualities and values within its prism. And that is an image that stays with me. There's this fabulous rainbow of myriad colors, which contains love in its multitude of meanings. And so, as I think with all of you here, these rules, which come effectively almost from the Middle Ages and beyond, are pertinent regardless of the times we live in, because they're universal. They're universal truths, and we can adapt and interpret them. And really, for me, all it can do is good. And I think, in a way, that's what we're here for, is to bring greater good.
And I would agree with you. And I love that description of the prism, everything that you can put in that prism, the qualities of love, which, we will all have our own prism, really, as to what that means, and the feeling. And, I was thinking, when you were talking about work, what came to my mind was, the saying that, if, you do what you love and you love what you do, you will never feel like you're doing a day's work in your life. And then I think back to the organizations that I've worked for, and so many people are so unhappy in their workplaces, and the workplace cultures, actually, they don't foster love and enjoyment. They're the modern day slave galley, the modern day sweatshop. And they're, even though you might have a nice office and a computer or anything, there are still effectively the modern day slave drivers. And you're not working out of love, you're not working out of a sense of your own love and love for yourself. You are the slave to the corporation, and there's there's no fun in it. There's absolute torture and horror and bullying and all sorts. But that's another story. But you know, I found this when I came out of that environment, that I could recognize so much more in me that was being squashed and suppressed, if you like, in doing the bidding of others. And which is why, yeah, I never quite fitted in anywhere, because I'm always trying to break the rules, and I'm always trying to do something different and be creative and innovative. And well, that's kind of what my job title was at one point. So I was in an insurance company, responsible for innovation. And it's like, well, we'll give you this job, and then we'll line up all the generals in front of you to stop you doing it, because insurance and innovation do not go hand in hand. And it was torture. How can you love anything very much in that environment? And my whole world just blossomed when I came out of that toxic environment. And I totally get those people fearing it and saying, I can't use that word at work, because you'd just be laughed out of the boardroom, because or any meeting or anything, people just don't get it. And yeah, Jeanette.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about, I can't see you, the you I know, in insurance, because it's a contradiction in terms. I mean, you're insuring against something not happening, but if it doesn't happen, then you don't get your money back, or you don't. I don't know. It's just creating conflict. A business based on hoping something horrible won't happen, will happen. Well, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, but you've mitted against, yeah, you mit against it happening by, passing the risk to somebody else, so you pay a premium, and then they do everything they can to get out of paying
I
you.
know,
And
exactly.
it's just, I didn't realize what a toxic environment I was really in until I got out the other side.
And a lot of the way that business or what's going on in the world, and oh my God, don't even want to get into it, but it's going to all collapse, because it's got to, because it just can't, it's not sustainable the way it is. And then
No,
all
because
people will be, it's feeling the freedom and being totally okay with it, because I know that we are to experience freedom. That's the desire, to experience freedom from these crazy distortions. But they are on purpose. They're part of the whole process of us coming into our sovereignty, innate sovereignty, not.
yeah. And I totally agree with you. And I think that freedom comes from truly loving yourself. If
Absolutely,
you
yes,
come home to you, and
yeah,
then the world becomes, a much different place.
yes.
Yeah.
And what
Anyway,
does
I'm
it?
conscious. Sorry.
There's no point there. We've come up run out of time, haven't we? So another time.
Well, we have plenty more of
Yeah.
these to go through, and we can always have spin-offs. So,
Yeah.
anybody else, Christine, Emily, do you have a last word before I uh, close out this episode?
Well, for me, just thank you for the sharing and the insight. Just such a valuable experience to be here and have the opportunity to discuss, which is something that should be out there being talked about and lived all the time.
Well, we're doing it, aren't we? So
We're doing it.
it's growing.
Thank you. I
Thank you all
really
of you.
value it. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Okay.
really
Well,
enjoyed it.
well,
Yeah.
thank you all for being here. It's once again, how does an hour go by so quickly? Amazing, insightful discussion, and I hope everybody that's watching it in replay or looking at this gets some benefit from our insights. And as always, I'll say, we have quite a few more episodes to go. We have another 32 rules to cover. So if other people want to join us, then just let me know. But for now, we're signing out. This has been episode 4. Watch out for episode 5. Thank you.
Bye bye.